Welcome, my friends. You are on Mav's Coffee Clarity with Denise. That's right. Every week we're spilling the beans. We're a show designed to move you forward in work, love, and life. And who wouldn't like that? If you've just found me, welcome. And if you're a regular listener, welcome back. You know I interview fascinating people from all walks of life, well-known to unknown, entrepreneurs, creatives, performers, authors to athletes. Come on, people. We're spilling the beans and we're laughing all the way to the bank. Business and life hacks that will move you forward. We're a well-deserved coffee break, unedited, authentic coffee with a friend. That's right. And to learn more about me, visit DeniseDiGrigoli.com, but do it after the show. Because today we have someone fabulous. As always, the Muthership is in the house, my friends. Helen Polise. Oh, my heavens. 1 million followers on TikTok,
Yes.
The TikTok famous teacher, a TV commercial producer with the salt behind her to move a volcano.
I love that.
Impressed. I'm so impressed, Helen. Thank you so much for being with us today.
What a nice
Welcome.
intro. Thank you for having me.
My friend Mindy introduced us to Helen a while ago, and my husband Troy, who has a decent following as well, learned so much from the Muthership. And we were all in transformation in 2023, Helen, and we really did follow so much of your stuff online. You are so real and authentic and warm and just there. So I'm thankful that you're here today. And as I said in our intro, what we like to do is share with the audience ideas that will move them forward. So first we want to know, how did you become so fabulous? Was it in a cereal box like a prize?
I wish it was. No, it was literally consistency and determination on a lot of levels when it comes to the social media side.
Okay.
And also being in at the right time, because
Right. So
a lot of people our age didn't embrace it until
our
it
age.
was
Ooh,
way more.
what is that?
Yeah, but it's you will see it was a very young based app, and there was older people starting to get into it, and those people were kind of the trailblazers, and I was one of them. So lucky for me, not even lucky. That's just who I am. I said, well, I don't care what anybody thinks. I'm just going to do it.
Right.
And that's really was it. It was timing, and it was consistency, and it was also joy. Complete and utter fun.
So as a career in TV directing, help us understand, where did you start? Where are you from? Like, take us from the beginning.
Okay. So beginning is, I have a background in classical piano, believe it or not. So I studied piano in college. And then when I came out of college, I needed to find a job so I could leave my home and not live with my parents. So I took any job.
That's
and
a motivator.
Yeah, it was the motivator. And I took any job, and it happened to be in advertising, which is where I met Mindy, oddly enough, your friend. Okay. So my first job in advertising, I was a secretary, because that's what you did. You took any job, you were an assistant, and you did what you had to do. And I overheard my boss talking about hiring a baton twirling teacher for a shoot in Amsterdam. And I was like, who? After the meeting, I went in there and I said, I can teach baton twirling. And he said, what? Bring in your baton and show me tomorrow. And he sent me on a shoot to Amsterdam to teach Dutch girls how to twirl batons.
Oh, my daughter's going to love this. She's dying to go international. How old were you?
Crazy. So I was literally 24 years old. So I was just
coincidence.
And it was perfect, because I saw a shoot going on, but I didn't have to be responsible for anything. I was just there to teach the kids how to twirl. And so I observed that shoot and I went, this is what I need to be doing. I loved it. It just lit something in me, and I knew that that's where I had to be. So that's how I really got started. And then my boss was wonderful. He threw people in way before they were even ready. And he said, you'll figure it out. So after that shoot, when I expressed an interest, he started throwing me in, and that started my journey in production, and I just fell in love with it. So my background there is what really fed into my success on social media. There's definitely a direct connect from sitting in edit rooms and understanding how shots go together and how to make content.
And it sounds to me like you're a lifelong learner too, and also somebody that will, jump on the Russian roulette game table and say, let me see what happens. Yes. Right?
I have no fear. And I also love technology. I always have. When those computers came into the advertising agency, I was like, I will figure out how to use this. So yeah, I love technology.
Were you always like with an insatiable appetite as a kid? Like, I'm going to learn it. I'm going to try it. I have no fear. Or did somebody mentor you and kind of push you off the cliff?
I was definitely more of a my upbringing was very, I want to say sheltered. My parents were more like, oh, be careful. Oh, don't do that. Oh, be careful. So
Mm.
when I left my home and I started to realize the things that I could do, and I stopped limiting myself. And I think a lot of that was my boss. My first boss always said, knowledge is power. And then
Knowledge is power.
I took that to my core. And when I would sit in the edit rooms, I wouldn't just watch, I would watch what they were doing. How were they making those edits happen? So I really was always curious and a technology person at learning at heart.
So now you referenced, and we've talked about this for the past few guests about age. We're ageless here on Mavs Coffee
Hmm.
Clarity because we gratify the whole nine yards. But
Yeah.
tell me about, because Ava said that, my daughter said the same thing. Mom, TikTok isn't for you. It's for the young people. I'm like, excuse me, I'm the woman writing the checks. Hello, hello. So tell me about that because so much of it now is
Oh
brand
yeah.
related, right? It's not
It's
just
so
weird little videos.
No, it's crazy. And it's also, I could speak to the topic on ageism because I've been invited on news shows and they always refer to me as a grandfluencer. And this gets me irate in a
Grand
way.
influencer,
Grand, like granny,
like
grandfluence.
granny.
And I hate
Wow.
it. I hate it. First off, I'm
Yeah.
not even a grandmother, but even if I was, why do I have to have that label? Other influencers don't have labels like that. They're just influencers. So I
Right.
didn't really appreciate it. And I realized that no matter what happens, you are judged by your visual.
Right.
So what and the fact is, age plays a huge role in my confidence because I don't really. You get to that point, and not in a negative way that you don't care what people think, but you realize that you have the confidence to be who you are without worrying about what people think. So
Right.
it's not that I don't care. It's just that it doesn't bother me if those people don't agree with what I'm doing. It
Well, I
just
always
doesn't
say, yeah,
bother
it's
me.
mad hours. I feel confident. I've had so many hours
Hmm,
on the mat. Like you can't really screw with me because I
right.
really know what I'm talking
Yeah.
about.
It's
And
totally okay.
and first of all, I mean, we are videotaping this through Zoom, but it's going to be on podcast, right? But I want everyone to know that Helen is fabulous and looks like a badass, fabulously beautiful woman. J Lo, move over. Move
You're so
over,
cute.
sister.
You're so cute.
But okay,
Um,
because I have the same thing, and my husband's in art restoration, so he ages into his career, right? You want a
mm,
guy that's done art restoration around for a long time. I always wonder, like, if somebody has like five MBAs and a PhD, are they going to come eat my lunch and my marketing clients? But I say no. You know why? Because there's that old thing, like the boat mechanic that comes in and hits the button once and the
yeah,
boat is repaired and you charge him, 50 grand, or the guy that sits on the boat for 5 days and charges him 5 grand and gives you a half-assed job. I don't know, which one do you want?
I know. I know.
So coming right along, that was a long-winded segue. I don't know why I did that, but that's all right. Tell me about how you bridge between being an art director, a creative director, a commercial. I'm really enamored with being a commercial uh,
Yeah. I
director.
have,
Like,
I
tell me
love
about
this.
that.
Okay, I have such a good current story to tell about this that's going to explain everything in terms of how production even is a very young business.
Okay.
So,
Mm.
just there's up and coming directors, everyone's trying to break in, they're building their reels, they're wowing people with fake content that they were claiming they directed, whatever it is. And so now when I come onto Zoom meetings
Yeah.
and I'm meeting a new team that I'm working with,
Uh-huh.
they see me and I know this. They've already kind of put me in a place like, oh, she's like the older person involved, producer,
Mm.
director, whatever role I'm playing at the time. And I make sure, Mav,
Yeah.
I work in my TikTok following somehow because when they hear that and know that about me, it totally changes the game for how I'm treated in that meeting and how I'm viewed in that meeting and my importance level in the meeting because I am more current when it
And
comes
then.
to, yeah, and it has changed the effing game for me. I'm
Mm.
telling you, I'm getting booked on things where they bring me as the TikTok expert, as they have another director and they bring me in as the TikTok director.
How did you
So,
become the TikTok expert? Just trial and tribulation?
yeah, when I first started, because I love technology, I am completely embraced them. So I had to figure it out. I was poking, like, how does this work? Of course, I was asking my daughter, do you know where to pick the music? How do you find? So once I figured it out, I realized there is room for me to explain this to other people. Because
Right.
and once I figured it out, and I have a good way of then translating that so people can understand it.
Yeah.
But I wasn't doing that in the beginning. I was baking because it was the pandemic. I was doing baking videos, editing some really cool stuff. I did a baton twirling tutorial. I was thinking of anything to record and
Right.
make content. And I was like, I'm going to be a content creator. I didn't even know what that was in my, it was just like a cool term. I'm going to be that
Yeah.
while we're in this pandemic. And when I started making those videos, I would have my followers asking me, how did you make that transition? Because I would hold something up and then I would
Yeah.
change it
Your
to something.
transitions are
And I'm
badass.
really good at transition.
You are really good at
I'm really good at
transitions.
it. I'm as good as the young people, if not better.
Oh
And
yeah, for
so,
sure.
because I have the skills, like I understand how they're done from sitting in edit rooms for all those
Mm,
years. So I didn't even have a learning curve with knowing how it's done. All I had to figure out was what buttons to push on the app to make it work.
mm.
So I really had an advantage
Well,
of
there's
35
intuition
years
there too, right? You're bringing it all together, like you say,
all
the cutting
together.
room,
It's
the experience.
wild. Yeah. And it's like
Yeah.
all those things sitting through like learning green screen. That was so basic to me because people have their green screen gets fuzzy and faded and they're not really solid in their green screen. I know how to work
That would
around
be
that.
me.
You know what I mean? Because I've been on the shoots where we take hours lighting a green screen. So it's really everything tied together in such a perfect way. That's
Mm,
why you just never know. Your knowledge always builds on itself. And
right.
if you keep learning, you will then take yourself to the next level on something else. And that's who I am. So when one of my followers said, how'd you do that transition? I was like, oh, as a joke, I'll make you a tutorial. Because I saw
Yeah.
people doing tutorials there on
Yeah.
the app. And I was like, I'm going to do. So I did a joke. I was like, so many people were asking. So I'm going to explain how I did this thing. Meanwhile, it was one person asking. So it was just a complete
Right.
joke. And that video exploded. I had so many followers after that because of the way I explained it. Because I have, of course, two phones, right? I have my one working phone and my other phone. So I can point one phone at the other phone and explain it. No one was doing that. They were all using screen recording.
Ah.
Now a lot of people are doing what I do because people, copy, they
Do
see.
I need another phone, Helen?
No, you don't because you're not teaching anybody.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. If you needed to show something on your phone, you need another phone to point at it. But no, you don't need that.
Okay, no, I
One
don't need that.
phone's
At least
fine.
right now for what I'm
Not right
doing
now.
now. Okay. All right. So if people
Good
are
question, though.
listening, yep. Well, I want
They also
everyone to be,
brand,
we're going to
yeah,
definitely say you need to follow the Mothership on TikTok and your
yeah.
website. We're going to give at the end. But I want to know, so what's the life hack here for the listener? Is it don't give up? Is it screw it, don't screw with my age? Is it be a lifelong learner? Is it my kids help me? Like,
Oh,
because I
not my
feel
kids
like
help me.
your kids
That's
help you or no?
no, I said not that one. All the rest that you said are accurate and they all feed into it.
Mm,
But I think that the key thing is relentlessness. If you are not willing to give up and you just gonna go, like a lot of people complaining about views right now. I've never really complained about views, nor do I care.
mm,
Because those 200 people, if that's all I'm getting, 200 views, those 200 people are paying close attention to what I'm teaching and they're going to tell other people. So it's
mm.
like if you become the expert in whatever it is you're sharing, whatever knowledge you're putting out there, if you're really funny, so you're relatable, that's going to be a win. You don't have to be teaching something to have a following. You just have to be consistent with something you're passionate about.
Right.
It really
And I
feeds into what you love.
and I think too, consistency comes when you find your voice, right? You got
Mhm.
to try it. Like you said, you were doing cooking
Mhm.
videos, you were doing twirling batons, and then you kind of stepped into like, oh yeah, I'm going to teach this, and you did it by
Yeah,
accident, right? So
that's it.
to me, the life hack there is be willing to try.
Oh,
You have a
yeah.
little grit, be resilient, and I think it's a real beauty world out there, right? Look at,
Mhm.
and we're not going to go back and give any extra bonus to the Kardashians, but look, it's a reality TV kind of thing.
It
So what do
is.
you do regardless of your age to fight the ageism or the beautyism, just to be you and to be
Uh,
seen and to be heard? Because
yeah,
people
I
really need to know that.
I agree. I want to represent my age. Like, I'm not trying to hide my age. I want to represent that no matter what age you are, you can still be
Mhm.
really good at something that isn't, quote, for older people. You could do whatever you want. So it's the whole thing is letting go of the rules and just
Mhm.
saying, I'm just going to show up how I want to show up. There's something that I could have done when I started making tutorials. I could have said, oh, wow, that's what people want from me. I'm only going to make tutorials now. But I would be bored out of my head if that's what I
Right.
was doing. So even though the gurus were on TikTok and they were on Instagram saying, pick your niche, do your videos that people like the most. I was still like, nah, I'm going to do some family fun. I'm going to do some,
Yeah.
I'm out on the
Real and
street.
relatable.
I'm just going to do like, oh, today I'm going to talk about this mascara because I love it, even though I don't like to do makeup videos. But one time
I
I was
saw
like,
that one too. That was pretty good.
I just kind of love that mascara. And I'm like, let me show this. But the point is, I do whatever I want.
Mhm.
And that is the key, is knowing that it's okay not to follow any rules. Because when you don't follow them
Mm.
is sometimes when you have an opportunity to reach people by accident. You do
Don't
something
follow
that
any
might be
rules.
really,
Sound like
yeah,
Miss
it's just
Maisel there.
good.
I want to break
No,
all the
I
rules.
love it. I love that
Now,
show.
what's the biggest challenge you have with running your business as a TV commercial producer
Mm.
and the mothership on TikTok being the most influential TikToker there is?
Yeah. The challenge is always time because the production business is very time heavy. So when you're in a shoot, it's constant. It's meetings and there's pre-production and there's phone call and it's not a 9 to 5er. It's like sometimes goes late tonight into the night. But what I
Mm.
really think my kind of secret sauce is I will never kind of let a day go by that I don't think about TikTok. I don't go, oh, I
Ah,
can't even think about it this week. I'm just too busy. I just think how I'm working it into the week. Well,
okay.
I'm going to do something much simpler this week because I know sometimes when I have a shoot coming up and I know I'm going to be really busy, I'm like, let me record a couple things so I have them in my back pocket for next week.
So you're
Or
building content along the way.
or I'm viewing, scrolling, and picking easy things to do, like a trend, which I don't do a lot of trends, but
Hmm.
I'll say, oh, let me save that one for next week when I'm busy and I'll be at the shoot and I'll do it with the crew. So I do think about TikTok every day. I think about social media every day.
So, how do you feel about multitasking versus habit stacking?
Oh, I think aren't they the same on some level?
Habit
How
stacking.
do you differentiate them? Because
Uh,
to me, they're both. I think multitasking is still like a habitual thing that you're constantly thinking about this other lane. You have multi lanes going.
mm.
No?
There's been a lot of shade given to multitasking. As an entrepreneur, I spent a lot of time multitasking,
Okay.
but I've cleaned it up a bit in habit stacking. So the low hanging fruit will be I put the laundry in while I'm writing a proposal, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's a habit stack, as opposed to having 10 of my top clients out on my desk with pretty heavy duty things that I'm following through because I
Mm-hmm.
do a lot of strategy, so that each person gets the best of me. Then I don't do that anymore. I did that as a much younger person. I'd have, all these projects going. But I also didn't have the demands of, being married in different locations and so on. So I try to, when I'm multitasking, I try to delineate the priority of the kind of task. Low
Mm-hmm.
hanging fruit would be like, I'm emailing something that doesn't mean anything, like paying a bill online, and I might be waiting for an answer to hear, like, if you're coming on the show, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's how I differentiate. But seriously, multitasking where I can be totally distracted because I'm doing too many high level things and make a mistake, I
Mm-hmm.
don't do it anymore.
Right. I could see that. But to me, that's also about prioritizing your multitasks
Yeah,
so
right.
that,
I
I don't know.
sugarcoated it for you, Helen.
Well, I know, but I think it's funny because I'm going, wow, I've got to change my life into habit stacking instead of multitasking. But I think I do a little bit of a combo because
Mm.
I will know what the list of priorities is. And it's like, okay, I'm not going to I'm not going to think about TikTok right now because I am totally consumed by these other tasks that have to happen. But I
Mm.
know that will come into my evening. So it's
Mm.
like, oh, later tonight when I'm relaxing and I'm enjoying, then I can just, open up my phone and do that and focus on that. So I do try to really, I don't know. I
Do you
think I
write a
balance
list?
it.
Do you write a list
I'm a
down?
list person as a rule. Yes.
I'm a list person too. And maybe that speaks to our age.
Maybe. I
I say
love
to Ava all the
boxes.
time, like,
I
you
like to
know,
check a color in
when
the
you get it out of
boxes.
your brain and you get it on paper, it has some
Hmm.
influence, right?
I
That's a
think so
different kind of
too.
yeah.
I think so
Uh,
too. But my daughter does lists. She just does it on Airtable. She does it more electronically than on paper. So I think it's a matter of paper versus electronics that defines maybe the different ages. But I
Maybe.
think that there's a mindset that some young people are very organized people and they like lists. They just do them electronically. Maybe your daughter's just not in that. She's maybe more creative and less organized.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I've been telling her habit stacking all week. She's like, I'm ready to go back to college now. Shut up. Just shut up.
So funny. You guys are
Okay,
cute.
so you've got this fabulous career, this fabulous following. Tell us, like where do you spend the majority of your free time? Like, how do you spend your free time? Do you have any
Oh,
free time?
I don't. I mean, I prioritize, believe it or not, running and exercising, no matter
Okay.
what's happening,
Yeah.
because that's something that I think is almost maybe my yoga, my meditation. When I
Hmm.
go for a run, even if I go slow now, because it's harder to run as you get. I hate to keep saying older, but this is the fact. We are a little older, but I
Right.
don't run as fast as I did, but I always go for my jog.
Run.
I always try and
Yeah.
make time. Yeah. So that to me is my fun thing to do. I
Hmm.
do think scrolling on social media is my fun thing, but the lucky part for me is that creating content is literally my favorite hobby.
Okay.
Making videos is my favorite hobby. So how crazy! My day job is also what I love, my as a hobby. How
Yeah.
crazy is that?
So you
So
found your purpose for
yeah,
real.
it's crazy. And so the only difference is my passion for teaching has kind of come into it. So aside from just making the videos, I do like explaining how to make the videos.
Now
It's
you
just a
do that in
perfect
your TV
storm. I don't
directing
know.
as well? I mean, or is it
Yeah.
only, yeah. So you're kind of a teacher.
Yes. Well, and when I'm TV directing, I'm usually doing interviews. I'm interviewing people, testimonial type of work, or that kind of thing. So it's still production, and it's definitely a separate role than doing social media work because I have
Hmm.
a cameraman and I have crew people and I have to direct them and we got to talk about what we're doing as a team. And
Hmm.
social media, I'm kind of running on solo, flying solo, which
Hmm.
is fun. So I can be way more creative. Whereas I'm with the team, I have to consider, okay, we have creative people. We know they have a vision for what they want, and we're trying to make their vision come to life. So that's more collaboration. And
Mm.
I think the social media is just like free form for me. It's fun, free flow.
So if I'm one of the listeners, I'm thinking, wow, Helen had this fabulous career. She stumbled upon this job teaching batons in Amsterdam, and it's been the golden carpet ever since then. So what
You're so
that would
cute.
be great, right?
It would
What's
be
the
great.
biggest fiasco where you found the greatest silver lining in your life? It could be work,
Ooh,
personal.
okay. So many things. My goodness. Probably two different ways I could look at this, work and personal. But I don't know if you want to get into this with the listeners, but I did go start to go blind in 2022. So I had this big TikTok following on social media, and I started to lose my eyesight.
Oh,
And I did you know that?
no.
Oh, yeah, I started to lose my vision and they couldn't figure out why. So for 3 weeks, I went from perfectly healthy, with sight to legally blind. And my daughter had to walk me around. I couldn't even walk outside by myself. So it was a really terrifying experience. And to
Wow.
condense it, they did diagnose me with lymphoma, and the lymphoma was behind my retina. And that's part of where they were. It was causing my blindness. So I had to immediately go into radiation, chemotherapy, lost my hair, did the whole thing and lived it out loud on social media
I knew you
because
had cancer, yes.
because I was out there already and I had not been able to post for those couple of weeks when I was blind. That's just facts. And I was thinking, how am I going to live my life as a blind person? That was the most devastating part of my
Mhm.
diagnosis process. Once I had got my eyesight back after radiation, luckily for me, it came back pretty
Thank
quickly after
God.
radiation. But I was so grateful for eyesight that chemo was not even an issue. Yes, we're going to do this and we'll get this done. But it wasn't devastating. Whereas other people, oh my God, I have to go through chemo. This is the worst thing ever. No, the worst thing
No.
ever was being blind. That was the
Right.
worst thing.
Did you have any like
It's
how
terrifying.
did you know? Like all of a sudden you just became blind one day or did you have any
It
warning
just
signs?
slowly, things were on at first, it was wavy pavement when I would walk in the streets. I'm like, what's going on? And then it would start to be dark in front of me, like shaded like a curtain. And they thought that I had a detached retina happening and they couldn't figure out why. I was on steroids for weeks. It just kept getting worse and worse until I was literally like, it was blurry. I wouldn't be able to see the features on your face. I could just see an outline. So
Wow.
it was a terrifying experience. And I think now, I don't know, that's what has changed me. Like I I'm grateful for eyelashes, some simple thing. That's why you think it's funny that I'm talking about mascara. I'm so thrilled to put on mascara every day because I had to lose all my
Wow.
hair. I didn't have eyelashes for 6 months. And so I didn't have eyesight. I was
And you're back to
crying.
full health and looking so
Yes.
vibrant and
Full
fabulous.
health. It's amazing. I mean, I went to see my son was taking piano lessons and he went performed in a concert and he's 34 years old and he was performing in a recital. I was bawling because I was able to see it. I
Ah,
mean,
that's so great.
crazy.
That's
So,
so
mm,
that is a fiasco with a
that is a
silver lining.
fiasco.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's a
And
fiasco,
now I
all
have a new
right.
hairstyle from that. That is a freaking fiasco.
That's a friggin'
So
fiasco.
that's a personal fiasco.
That's a
And
personal fiasco.
I'll take us on the journey to a quick work fiasco. But I did for 10 years have a partnership. After in advertising, I went into a partnership. And then after 10 years of a very successful partnership where I was working with a director and I was the producer, we
Mhm.
decided to part ways. And I was thinking, well, I guess I have to find a director or be a director now.
Mhm.
So all the years of me saying, no, I'm not a director, I'm a producer, thinking that was my role, I will now never say no. I will always now say not now, because
Not
I did
now.
now as a director, this is my absolute purpose. And so
Right.
I lived those 30 years that led up to it
Yeah.
was kind of preparing me for what I'm supposed to be doing.
I
As
think
now
that's the
I
most
know I'm supposed to
fabulous.
be directing, and
Yeah.
that is the fiasco. That is the big win.
Right. And it's not now. That's the life hack.
Such a
Not
good
now.
hack.
Right. Someday.
Such a good one. I'm going
Right.
to credit my friend Alicia if she ever listens to this podcast. I'm going to send it to her because I'm crediting her, because I said once to her, "Oh, I don't want to I don't know about doing brand partnerships because I know I have a big following and people are like, you should be doing some sponsorships." And I said, "I don't really want to be a salesperson." And she said, "Don't say no, just say not now." And I was like, "Well,
Don't
that's a big,
say no. Just
just
not
say not
now.
now," because that
Oh,
leaves it open. I mean, it's
that
brilliant.
leaves it
Thank you,
open.
Alicia. If you're listening, you should be
Right.
listening.
Well, I hope you're going to share Mav's coffee clarity. I
I
mean,
am. I'm going to
I,
send it
I,
right to Alicia.
and I'm so thankful that you've been on today. You've given us some
This is so
insights, some
fun.
inspiration. I feel like if you, I mean, really, I feel like all of us can do it just listening to your story.
Yeah. Everybody can do it. That's just
I
it.
mean, chance favors the prepared mind. And when you get a fiasco, just say, not now.
Not now. We're going to do it and figure
We're
it
going to
out.
do
Or
it, but just not now.
not now. Yeah.
Right. Going to get our eyesight back and then we're going to do it.
We're going to do it.
Right. So
I
before
know.
we sign off with our guests and our listeners, and I'm so thankful you were here today.
Thank you.
Tell us what's ahead. Does Helen have a crystal
Mm.
ball for 2024, 5,
Mm.
or even 6?
Probably one of my flaws is that I'm not a big goal maker. I just wish I was, because I want to be that person that like sets the goal and then we're going to go for it. I've never been like that. I've always just followed the path, but I'm trying hard
Mm.
to set goals and say, okay, I really want to create a community in my newsletter. So my goal right now is pushing for newsletter and my social media podcast, which supports the newsletter. And that's what I'm really focused on, because I think my directing work is just coming. It's from being present on social media. Your expertise is noticed by people and you never know where the work's going to come from. So even though I'm not getting brand partnerships or doing sponsorships, I am making money due to social media, because now I'm a leading expert and I'm getting hired by I just got hired by a skincare brand. They're going to fly me to coach some scientists to be influencers. I would never have had that opportunity ever if this didn't happen to me on social media.
I'm
So it
so
has,
I'm so incredibly motivated by you,
you
Helen.
should be,
I mean,
because you
I
can
am,
do anything.
and I had like a sinus infection and almost said we can't do it. And I'm so glad that I showed up, because I showed up and I learned so much. And I hope that all of you have shown up today and learned from Helen. Tell everyone where we can find you, Helen.
Okay, so hellosocialize.com is where you'll find my newsletter and everything about my workshops and my teachings. And my social media is at the Muthership, and that's with a U. And that's on all the socials. I show up as at the Muthership. So, but really get on the newsletter, because you really want to know my weekly social media updates. That's the key.
I absolutely value every single second here. Okay, my friends, you've heard it. It's the Muthership. And you have been on Mavs Coffee Clarity with Denise DiGrigoli. We have spilt the beans with Helen today. If you like it, please share it. We're found wherever your favorite podcasts are listened to: Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, and more. Thank you, my friends. And if you want to learn more about me and my creative services, visit DeniseDiGrigoli.com. Peace out, my friends. Mav's got to get back to work.